Hi students, this is Ms. Reese, and in this video I'm going to go over the Preamble project. So let's just jump right into it. So last week we talked quite a bit about the Articles of Confederation and why, whilst they had some supporters, a lot of folks were very upset with how ineffective or not great they were working out. Some of the three big problems that we talked about with the Articles include the national government was not able to tax the states, which meant that they weren't able to pay for a lot of their expenses or pay back a lot of their debts. So that was one big problem with the Articles. Another is that there was no national army. So in instances like Shays' Rebellion, where there was a big uprising in Massachusetts, there was no national government to come in and kind of keep it down and kind of squash the rebellions in a bit. And this also would have been a problem in case other countries tried to invade. While states had their own local militias and state armies, there was no big one national army to go in and defend the states and keep the peace. So that was the second problem. A third problem is that the Articles needed all 13 states in agreement if there was going to be any major changes made to the Articles. And it's really tough to get 13 people to agree on anything, let alone a system of government. So the Articles of Confederation had some pretty big problems, and eventually it was overturned and replaced. In 1787, a lot of our founding framers met up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and they held what is known as the Constitutional Convention. And this is pretty much where they decided, you know what, we're going to scrap the Articles of Confederation. We were going to try to change them, but now we realize best we just throw them out the door and let's write a brand new system. And that eventually becomes our Constitution, which we use to this very day. So this is what they came up with. The first part of the Constitution is the Preamble, and we're going to talk a little bit about what that means in a minute. Next, in Article 1, they describe the legislative branch of government, and this is our lawmaking area of government where we create our rules and laws for the country. Article 2 talks about the executive branch. So after the legislative branch has made the laws, it's the job of the executive branch to then carry them out, to enforce them. And then Article 3 talks about the judicial branch. This is our justice system in the country. So this is our courts all the way up to the Supreme Court and our national courts and whatnot. So this is kind of the court that interprets laws. So to see like, okay, are the laws being carried out correctly? Is anybody breaking laws? How should we interpret them? So that's all of our court system is in the judicial branch. Now, those are the four main sections of the Constitution we're going to study in class. And then afterwards, we're going to get to the Bill of Rights. There is other stuff in the Constitution talking about the relationship between the states and the national government, how we change the Constitution, pretty much just saying this is the main overall law of the land, yada, yada. But as I said, we're mostly going to be focusing on the first four for our class. So the Preamble. If you ever want to know what is a preamble, well, you can look at the beginning of its word. It has the prefix pre, which means before. You may have seen the prefix pre in other words such as preschool, because that's where you go to before elementary school. Preheat, that's how you warm up your food before you get to the actual cooking. Prepare, what you do before you actually get started, all that jazz. And what a preamble is, it's a statement at the beginning of a document that explains the document's purpose. So pretty much the preamble, it's at the beginning of the Constitution, and it says, well, what's the point of this Constitution? In other words, why was this document made, and what are the big ideas behind it? So what are the guiding principles? Yes, they had a preamble. Alrighty, what I need you to do right now is to pause the video, and you are going to listen to the Schoolhouse Rock song. Pretty much just goes over the preamble right there, so pause the video. Alrighty, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that little tune. So these are the directions for the preamble assignment. If we go on to our class under Wednesday, November 18th, for this quarter, this is where it's at. In other quarters, it might be placed somewhere else. You're going to click on the preamble project. Notice I have the directions right here. I'm just going to verbally explain them right now. You are going to make a copy of the preamble lesson right here. Open that up. Just like with all of our other assignments, you go to File, then Make a Copy, Entire Presentation, call it what you will, and then hit OK. Once you have that down, let's look through the directions then. So you've already done step 1, which is make a copy of the slides. What you're going to do next is I have at the top of each slide a little phrase from the preamble. And what your job is going to be is to translate that phrase into your own words. So kind of as if you were explaining it to someone younger than you. Now, what I have also done is I have attached the link to a dictionary. If you see right here, this dictionary is underlined in teal. If you click on it, that sends you to the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So this is where you can go if you come across any words you're not quite sure what they mean. Alrighty, after you have translated the phrase into your own words, you are going to add a visual of some form that explains what that phrase means. And I like to describe it this way. Your visual should be able to describe what the phrase means to someone who can't read. So kind of, I don't want to see any pictures with quotes on them or any of that sort of thing. It needs to kind of, and I'll show you on the next page what this looks like. And obviously when you're all done with this assignment, you're going to turn it in. But let me walk through what an example is. So this is one of the first phrases in the preamble. It's the, after we the people in order to form a more perfect union. So this is the original phrase. What I did then was I went in and I added my own translation. So in order to form became to create. So in order to form a more perfect union. Now, in this context, union is referring to the country. So they're saying in order to create a more perfect country, that's kind of like saying to create a better country. So in order to create the best possible country we can, and then it goes on from there. But that's kind of my definition. As you can see, I changed the words all around quite a bit, so they're all now in my own language. And this is what I did for my pictures. So I put out quite a bunch, and you're going to see what I mean in a second. So I wanted a phrase for in order to form. So my idea was, okay, so forming, when I think of forming, I often think of like a potter working with clay or something. So my first picture I put down for in order to form is a person kind of molding with the clay. Next, in order to form a more perfect union, my way of showing that was I put this little picture of the United States and then an arrow because it's becoming a more perfect union. So to make the best possible country we can. So you can see I'm very literal with my pictures. And this is what I want from you, is think of it as you kind of have a picture for like every 3 to 4 words. Or kind of, what I don't want is I don't want folks just to copy the phrase and to paste it into Google Images and click the first thing you see. That's what I don't want. I want to see your creativity in this. How do you show? And again, it's like the pictures should explain this to somebody who can't read is kind of what I'm looking at. I want to see that you're able to explain the phrase in your own words and in a visual sense. So that's my example I have right here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk you through what to do if you are having trouble coming up with a definition or a translation. So the next part is to ensure justice. Now, maybe you've seen the word ensure, maybe you haven't, but I'm going to walk through what you do just in case you haven't. So to ensure, so I'm over here again. On the first slide, I clicked on the link to the little dictionary. It's the Merriam-Webster one. And I'm typing in the search bar, ensure. All right, so here we are, ensure. To make sure, certain, or safe. To guarantee. All righty. So it's saying that part of why they are creating this Constitution is to ensure justice, to make certain there is justice, to guarantee there is justice in the country, to make sure our justice is held safely in this country. So you might be thinking, okay, I think I know what justice is, but let's just look it up just in case. The justice, the maintenance of an administration of what it is just, especially in the partial adjustments of conflicting claims or assignments and yada, yada. Okay, so that's kind of a little wordy. That was if that was not making too much sense, scroll down a little bit more because they have other ones. Alrighty, the quality of being just, impartial, or fair. The principle or ideal of just dealing or right action. All right, so kind of this whole idea of fairness, that we have fair everything in the country, that everything is brought to justice and fairness, and everything is kind of being followed, all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of what you can put down for then this first part for ensure justice. And then, of course, create a visual of some form. Alrighty. So in general, you are going to do this then for the other sections of the Constitution. And I want to say, or the preamble, and I want to say, really, when in doubt, look closely at the words and look them up. For example, the second to last one is for ourselves and our posterity. Now, posterity is not prosperity. It's not talking about, growing and getting better. Posterity is kind of a more old-fashioned term. So look up, what does it mean? Or when it says the general welfare, what does general welfare refer to? Make sure that you go in and you are looking up what these words mean. If you have any doubts, it'll probably help quite a bit. Alrighty, so that is the assignment. If you have any questions, you are always free to ask me for help. Otherwise, best of luck on this assignment, students. Have a good one.